have seen already the registration guide, and probably a lot of you have already given your forms back to your teachers. We're just gonna kind of go through some of this. So if I bring up something that you have a question about, you can ask them. You can email any of us if you have if anything comes up that you're unsure of as far as how the classes work and what's required and how the electives work. Because I know that's sometimes kind of a little bit of a question. The nice thing about 7th grade. The nice thing, but maybe not so nice sometimes, is that there isn't a lot of choice. So there's not a lot of kind of confusion as far as what they need to do. But it gives them an opportunity to kind of test some things out. So we'll kind of go through some of these here. So we got our required classes, our core classes, our English, science, and social studies. Our English is largely focused on our reading and writing, focused on reading comprehension, talking about the different genres of books, focus on improving the writing and those aspects of it. I do want to say before I get too far into here, I'm going to kind of go over the general part of this. Now I know the NTN is going to have some different components. I won't get into those parts, but these are just the general components for all these classes that are going to be included, no matter what team they're on. So English, like I said, mainly focused on the reading and writing. Science, from what I've heard, they're changing the curriculum a little bit. This year they were focusing on life science, but I believe next year they're going to be focusing more on physical science and chemistry. And so there might be a little bit of change as far as the curriculum, but they're still going to get those components sometime throughout their 7th and 8th grade year. That's a major component of the science curriculum there. And then social studies, there's actually two different offerings, unless they're on the NTN team. There are two different offerings. There's 7th grade social studies, which is a general class. They're going to be focusing on kind of maps, reading maps, focus on ancient history, the European history, and get into a lot of really neat stuff. They do a Greek mythology unit, which is really neat. And then the foundations is the same curriculum as their 7th grade social studies, but it just kind of gets a little bit more into how to take notes, how to really read the text, how to really understand this stuff. So it's for students who might have a little trouble with organization and understanding things that they're reading. I'm just kind of giving again a little bit of support for different levels of students there. Go ahead, click it there. Then we have our math section. We have three levels of math for 7th grade. Our kind of general level is our 7th grade math. It mainly focus on fractions, decimals, getting them ready for the algebra components. And then we have the pre-algebra, which is more of the advanced track. Your teachers probably talk to you about where your student is at as far as where that is. They have a very qualitative system now that they're using for that, and they look at a lot of different data points to see where the students are at for the math. And the one thing we'll say this year, and as they get into 8th grade, and probably throughout the rest of their careers, we want them to be at the level that they feel comfortable. We want them to feel like in that math that they feel confident and comfortable, but still challenged. And so we have a lot of questions about getting into the advanced math from the regular, and we have different ways of getting them into that track. But again, the main thing is we want to make sure that they're ready for that advanced level, and just giving them those options as far as the foundations of math is actually called integrated math now, and it's again focused on the same type of curriculum, just working on the skill building for that subject area. We have PE that meets every other day, and so we have a system here called day 1, day 2. So they either have physical education on day 1 or day 2, and then alternating. They'll either have their music class or another elective that they have. But the PE is going to be combined 7th and 8th grade. It could be any time really throughout the day except for 4th hour when we have lunch. And they do dress up for it. You probably noticed in here some of the things that we're requiring as far as what they dress out. They'll wear black shorts and then usually a white or an orange t-shirt. We do offer t-shirts here where they can put their name on there, which is usually helpful for the PE teachers. The PE sections are around 30 kids, 25 to 30 kids each, and they do a lot of neat activities, a lot of focus on just improving physical fitness. And then we have our music, which also meets every other day, and I'm going to show you what the options are for that. That's one of our electives that they can pick. We do require that 7th graders take one semester, at least one semester of a music. And like I said, I'll show you what our different options are. The different options that we have are band, chorus, and orchestra. And so if they've been involved in maybe band or orchestra up to this point and want to continue on with that, they're more than welcome. They will, for the most part, need to provide their instrument. We do have options, though, if they're interested in getting an instrument, we can kind of set some things up. But what a lot of students will do if they're not, if they're kind of feeling out the water with music, is they'll take the chorus class. That's a very popular one. But we got a lot of students involved in all those. And then Mr. Weber is going to talk about here in a little bit. There's a lot of options as far as extracurricular things you can do with each of these different music. So if your student is very involved in music, they can take any of those. And the big thing with that is they can take more than one. They can take all three if they want to. We have students that are taking all three of those music classes as their electives. That fills up all their spots, but that's something that, if they're very interested in music, we have students that are involved in that. So if they want to be involved in music, they definitely have that opportunity. And then we have one period throughout the day for the 7th graders. It's called the Exploratory Block. And that's broken up into 4 9-week sections. And every student will take one of these 4 sections, or one of these 4 classes every 9 weeks. So every quarter, they'll be in one of these sections. They kind of mix it up. They could start with art, they could start with tech ed, they could start with, we got family consumer science on there twice, but they have financial literacy is the other course that's on there. So that's one that's really focusing on on money, and they're working on setting up a business, kind of a neat subject. But they'll get an experience of all these. And the reason why we do that in 7th grade is because we want them to get a taste of that, because in 8th grade they have the chance to pick one of those classes that they want to take for a whole semester. So they can take art for a whole semester in 8th grade, and that's a choice of that. But we want to have them have experience in all of those throughout that year. In family consumer science, they're doing 4.5 weeks of sewing, 4.5 weeks of foods, technology education. They're working in the computer lab for about 4.5 weeks on designing, and then in the shop for 4.5 weeks building different stuff. Art, they're working on 3D art, sculpture, painting, drawing, all those different things. And then the financial literacy, like I said, mainly focused on business, our business component that we have here at Stilwell. And then one last elective that I want to talk about is Spanish. And the 7th grade Spanish is largely a kind of a filler of a gap between the elementary Spanish that they might have already taken and into the Spanish one. However, if they've never taken Spanish before, they're more than welcome to take this Spanish. And if they decide not to take Spanish next year, they can still take Spanish 1 their 8th grade year. So it's not something that people always ask, well, do I have to? Does my student have to take Spanish next year in order to continue on Spanish? No. Well, we're given this opportunity, so you can continue on with that if you want. It's every other day. They get into a lot of different stuff, a lot of the culture stuff, and as well as language. But it's just kind of allowing them to keep those skills up if they want to, but not it's not required to completely keep going on that. They can take 7th grade off if they need to, if it doesn't fit in their schedule because maybe they're in a lot of musics or they're in other classes. They can and then take it again in 8th grade. So a great opportunity though for students to again have continue with their foreign language if they want to, and keep learning that subject. I think that's it for me. I'll give it over to Ms. Cooper. Thank you.
Oh boy. Okay, I am Mrs. Cooper. I'm one of the other counselors, or the other counselor that is here. And I'm going to start out by showing you what our schedule looks like. This is my first year being in junior high and looking at a schedule like this. I was coming from elementary as well. So when I first came and was doing registration and stuff, this was crazy looking to me. So I thought I would kind of just share with you a few things. So Mr. Johnson talked about the day 1, day 2 schedule. And so just a couple of things, and I hopefully got my little laser pointer here. Works. There we go. All right, so if you look down here in this 6th hour, all right, so down the side in the gray is the periods 1st through 7th. So like this 6th hour right here, there's day 1 and there's day 2. That means that this reading course meets just on day 1s, and then the math resource, so they alternate. So like today was a day 2 here, so this student would have gone to math resource today, and then tomorrow they will go to reading. You also can see that that's not the case for the 4 core classes, and then that the exploratory block that Mr. Johnson talked about also meets every single day. So when you see a period like that that's split, day 1, day 2, that means that those classes alternate each other and meet on an every other day basis. That's the one part that's a little tricky. The other part that's probably more important to the students is, when do I eat lunch? And so you can see on this schedule that up in this 4th hour, we have 4A, B, C. That's first lunch, second lunch, third lunch. But for this student had the exploratory block in 4th hour. So when the student had art first quarter, that 4A meant that that student ate first lunch. And then the rest of them, it looks like that student ate third lunch. So whenever there's an empty in their 4th hour, that's when they're gonna eat lunch. Some students have 4th hour where they have chorus or band, and so they have a day 1 or day 2. So on day 1s they might have first lunch, and on day 2s they might have third lunch. So that may happen. Then other times you might get the second schedule, where this student looks at it and says, I don't get to eat lunch because there's no empty. That just means that because they have that day 1, day 2, that they will be told, because it won't show up on Infinite Campus when we print it out. So when they go to that class that first day, that teacher will explain to them when they're going to eat lunch. And so if you see that on there, when you come for registration, don't panic that they don't have a lunch put into their schedule. All right, it's in there. It didn't show up on campus. Anything else from that that you think about schedules? All right, and then the other component that I'm going to talk about is the support services that we provide. If you've had your conferences with your 6th grade teachers, they have talked to you about these.